So a few hours ago, Microsoft released a statement regarding the SSD failures that have been happening after the latest Windows update, which unless you're living under a rock, you've probably heard about. But I'll go ahead and run a refresher in case some of you haven't heard about it. Basically, Microsoft released an update, this one to be specific, and it's been causing a lot of SSD data corruption on certain drive models, particularly those using Phison-based NVMe controllers. The symptoms of this issue often start as slow performance, random blue screens, but eventually end up with the drive having its data corrupted, and all your files on it being rendered inaccessible. Anyway, the statement that Microsoft released basically said that they investigated their own software and found no problems with it, which would seem to suggest that Phison, one of the largest SSD controller vendors in the entire world, suddenly had an uptick in failures, specifically on Windows machines, but none on Linux machines. But there doesn't really seem to have been any noticeable difference at all. The whole situation seems very fishy to me, at least on Microsoft's part, especially given that, from what I've found, no hardware failure is actually happening here. It doesn't damage the SSD in a way that it can't be used in the future. It just corrupts the data on it, but it's not a hardware problem. Now, I'm not well versed enough in the magics of NVMe and PCI Express to really do a deep dive on this and get to the root of it, but I'm sure there are many people that are actively investigating this issue. Even without that information, it's pretty hard to find an explanation for this being Phison's problem and not Microsoft's problem, considering this is happening on existing drives, and seemingly without any firmware updates taking place on such drives. So the bottom line is, if you're running a Phison controller NVMe drive in your Windows system, and you have this update installed, my advice would be to either roll it back if possible, or if you've already cleared it to regain some storage space, back up your stuff using Macrium Reflect or another free utility to image your Windows to another drive, so if this issue does happen, you can restore back to a working state using nothing but a USB recovery media, which many backup suites can generate for you automatically. Until next time.